Welcome back to the channel. So today I've decided I'm going to put a double swivel seat on my double seat of my crafter. The reason being, I've been using it now quite often and I think it will be beneficial to have the front seat swivel. Just give me a little bit more space so I could sit on it and obviously look out the door. In hindsight, I should have done this at the beginning because it's just more involved. Taking the seat out, I've got nowhere to slide it back, so I might have to take it outside while I fit the base. I've gone for a swivel that lifts up and then obviously turns around. The reason being, there's only one manufacturer to do these. I will leave their link in the description, but yeah, there's only one manufacturer to do these, because underneath the seats of the crafters, and I presume the mans as well, there's the main fuse box. So you can't just put an ordinary swivel base on it. It has to lift, swivel. And the other problem I've got in mind, I've got seat sensors. So I'm going to have to unplug those and hopefully it won't sit off the airbag light. But yeah, that's what I'll be doing next. So back in the garage, let's have a look to see what we've got. It comes delivered in 2 boxes. I presume it's because it's so heavy that it has to be couriered in 2 separate packages. So let's get it unpacked and see what actually we get for our money. So you've got a little box here with, I believe, are some extra bolts. Not sure these are for yet, but I'm sure I shall find out. There's some little tube of silicone grease, and that's the center bolt. So in the first box we have one of the frames. These are really heavy and they seem to be really well made as well. And then in the second box we have the invoice and probably the instructions as well. Comes a little leaflet pouch here. So let's have a look what we've got in here. That's the invoice. There's the fitting instructions. And oh, it's the test report. They've obviously been independently tested for safety wise, seeing as it's a conversion of a seat. So yeah, that's just the safety report. Your insurance company might want to see that if you notify them with a change of seat. So in the actual box, oh yeah, this is heavy. Let's get rid of that one. Not sure how much this completely weighs, but it's very heavy. Yeah, so that's obviously the spring top. We lift the handle, it springs up, and the seat rotates round. Okay, so what we have is obviously the base unit, and then the bit that sits on top, and this is the bit that unhinges and then swivels around. You get the plate which helps it to spin. This is the plate you grease up apparently. You get a box of extra bolts and fixings, and a tube of silicone grease. That's obviously to help lubricate the spinning of the base unit. You get a little package, and here's the invoice, and you get a test report. I suppose that's quite useful if your insurance company asks for it. So it's been independently tested for safety, and you should have the instructions. Yeah, apparently these are quite simple to follow, so I'll be looking at those in a minute. You can see it's really thick steel and it's really well manufactured, so this is probably the thing you have to grease up first. So we'll have a look at that and get it in the van. So this is the base that actually fits to the chassis of the van. And that's why it's raised, because that goes over the fuse board. And then this one is the actual mechanism where you lift this handle up, it raises it up, and then it allows you to swivel. Okay, so this is the main base. This is the bit attached to the main chassis of the van. This bit here is raised obviously to get over the fuse board area, fuse box that's in the crafters. And then this is the mechanism that lifts up using this handle, lifts up, and that raises the actual seat up that allows you to rotate over the fuse box. Okay, so let's get back in the van and then have to start undoing the actual seat bolts itself, and removing the seat allows me then to install this. There is a cover that goes over the fuse box, so we're going to have to take that off and then adapt it. But all the instructions are in this pamphlet they give you. You just have to cut out a corner of it. I probably think that's to get over one of the corner bolts. Let's get in the van and have a look. So this is the fuse board or box underneath the seat. You have to take this cover off to gain access to it. You can see everything is now under there. So using an ordinary swivel base is not feasible. You have to have one that rises and then turns round over the fuse boxes itself. This is the sensor I was talking about. It goes all the way around to both actual seats. This is the connector for the actual seat sensors. Apparently this one's got two wires, the brown and the green. So that is just for the seat sensors. If it contains a yellow, that controls the airbag. So I've been assured that if by unplugging these, it will not set off the airbag light. But if you have a yellow cable going into it, that will set off the airbag light, because they control the seat tensioners on the seat belts. What I should probably do to make it still operational with the seat sensors, I will probably just cut the cable and extend it. So when the base actually swivels, the actual cable will swivel with the base, but I'll look into that later. Okay, so the reason why I've gone for a double seat swivel instead of installing a single seat is because I do like the bench seat. When I swivel around, it gives me a nice wide area to sit on, and I do like this centre console as well, because it's when I'm driving along, I can just fold it down and it allows me to put my phone on, my drinks and anything else I need. Also, if I keep it as a three-seater, then I won't have to contact the DVLA and have it changed. I'll be able to still keep the three-seater status. I'm hoping I've got enough room in the back of the van so I can unbolt the seat and then slide it back rather than take it out. I've not got a lot of room in there, but let's give it a go. So you've got 7 bolts to take out. There's a couple in each corner, and then you've got this one in the middle here. It's a 16mm socket you need. So that's how I've got it out. I've had to lift it above my top. Or it probably would have been easier if there was 2 people lifting it out, because you could probably lift it out of the side door and put it on the floor, but because I'm on my own, that's how I've had to manoeuvre it. But you can see it leaves a nice wide space now, so you can gain access. So back in the garage, I've got to cut the fuse box housing down. That's to allow the corner of the base where the 2 bolts go in, just got a notch out, so you've got access to the bolts. It doesn't hinder I suppose, the structure of it. So on the instructions it says I've got to cut out 58mm across by 17mm down. So that's what I'll be doing next, but let me show you why. So it's to get over this area here where the double bolts go in, because on the fuse actual board cover itself you've got that little bit sticking out, so that's going to hinder when that goes in. Let me see if I can show you exactly why. Because when the fuse board goes in, it obviously sits like that. It's manufactured to obviously house the fuse board cover, but when you get over to this area here, it's going to impact on the actual frame of the base unit. So that's the reason why we have to cut this section out. So it's 58mm across, 70mm. So there you go, that's the corner cut out. That's the piece that's obviously been removed. So that is 58mm by 70. Okay, so now that's cut out. Just going by the instructions, really easy to go through. Number 5, install this nut and bolt. This is a 30mm locking nut with 2 rubber washers and a sprung washer, and this fits in the centre here. That's obviously to make the whole thing pivot. So first it says use the bolt with a plastic washer underneath, insert it loosely through, another plastic washer, then the sprung washer, then the nut on top. It just says loosely fix that, so that allows that to slide and manoeuvre when you actually turn the base around. So we won't do that tight, we'll just lose that there. Okay, now that's on, we can take this whole base and the fuse box cover back to the van, install the fuse box cover first. Okay, so let's get these bolts back in. Use the same one. It's really handy to have one of these magnetic tools here to get the bolts back in, because you have to feed them through these little holes down here. So if you use one of these magnetic, I don't know what they're called, but I got it from, I think, Halfords or somewhere. These are really useful to getting bolts down holes, just to get a start on it. Then you can get your socket back in. I'm just going to hand tighten them first of all, then I will tighten them up using the correct torque settings. I'll have to find that out before I tighten them down. Don't forget to get out your socket if your seats have sensors as well, because you might have to plug that back in or have it extended if it does set off any warning lights. So I'll just leave that out there for now. The other good thing is it still lets you have access to all the fuses underneath from the little actual door on the actual unit. So that's quite a good feature of this system, and that just clips back in. What I'm going to do is just tighten up all the bolts with the ratchet, and then I'll go around afterwards with a socket set to the correct torque settings. But for now I'll just tighten them up. This is the reason why you put the nut in first, because after the cover's on and the seat actual base is fixed down, you are not going to get the bolt underneath. So that's the reason why it's installed at this stage. Okay, so next to do is to smother both sides of this disc with this silicone grease. It says don't apply too much, but I'm going to make sure both sides get a nice even coat. So what you've got to do now that base is on, it's just loosely put on. See that, I think it's about a 12mm bolt sticking up through the centre. You need to put the washers back on and then tighten it up, not too tight, just so it allows this actual base to float around on the silicone grease and the big washer. So it's still movable, but it's still secure. Now that's all in place, you can see why it costs what it does, because the amount of engineering in and the way it moves and slides around and the way it just actually gets over the fuse box is just amazing. So yeah, well worth the money, and it's also structurally sound, so it's all passed all of its crash actual testing as well. So yeah, really happy with the project. It is very heavy, so it will add a bit of weight to the van. So yeah, see how it gets on. Okay, so now that's all in place, the next thing I've got to do is refix the seats on top. Yeah, on my own it's going to be a problem. I've got no one else to help me around me, so I'm going to have to struggle with that, or I might wait and see if someone can give me a lift with it. But if it was like lying on the floor there, it would have been probably be easier, but because I've had to lift it up because my unit's all in the way, I'm going to have to try and lift it over this handle and mechanism so it sits down on these plates, so then I can fix the bolts up. So yeah, wish me luck. Okay, so I've got it in place. It's definitely easier with two people. I did manage up my own, but I struggled, so it'd be a lot easier with two people. So I think the best way to get these bolts in is to maybe get one in first. Let's lift the seat up and see what we've got inside. Just find one that's really readily available. Maybe this one down here, or these two. Get these two in place, put them in loose, and then it'll be easier to manoeuvre the chair and then get the rest of the other bolts in place. And then once they're all in, then do a final tighten up. Okay, let's give it a go. So just a case of just getting it in place, moving the lever down. Yeah, now the seat's on, it's got a bit more weight and it's really easy to like move up and down, so it's really good. So as you can see, swiveling it round does hit the headrest on top of this overhead console, so you might have to remove the headrest just before you turn it around. There you go, so that's much better. It gives me a lot more room in this area, somewhere to sit and also look out, which is great. And I've got use, where is it, of my centre console if I want to put drinks here or use it as a table. And I've got this too, I can put my iPad on it or phone, so I can still use that as well, which is exactly what I wanted. Brilliant. Okay, the other thing I've noticed now I've got this base installed is that the passenger seat is now the same level as the driver's seat. Being 6 foot, I've had to raise my actual driving position to the highest point. So now I've got this base on, it does bring both seats level. So I suppose if you've got a small child, you could double it up as a bed. It does also give a lot more room in the van, a lot more seating area, and it just makes the whole internal van look a lot bigger. So that's back to normal now. As you can see, it makes a huge difference in the space when you do swivel the seat around, so I'm really happy with that. It doesn't really make any difference either. It probably raises the whole seat height by about 50 to 60 millimeters, but it still looks good and it makes a lot more usable space. Thanks for watching. If you like these videos, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Next video I'll be doing 10 questions and answers about my van build.